Welcome back to Mega Music Memories, the podcast that remembers and celebrates the unsung heroes of pop and dance from yesteryear who've earned permanent places in our hearts with their epic music. My name is Matt Gibson. Join me as I interview artists from the 90s and noughties who, in my view, don't always get the plaudits they deserve for the amazing music they made and the magical memories they've given to us fans. If you're a nostalgia nerd, subscribe and stay tuned as we continue our journey looking back at an awesome era. If you love pop, if you love nostalgia, and enjoy hearing your favourite old school artists reflecting on their careers and giving us the lowdown on what they're doing now, you're in the right place. So buckle up, because we've got some serious reminiscing to do. Today, our latest stop on our trip down memory lane sees us chatting to the one and only Angie Brown, who is probably best known for her work as a vocalist for Bizarre Inc., with whom she had a number 3 hit in the UK singles chart with I'm Gonna Get You back in 1992. Angie was also the female voice on Mark Morrison's world-famous smash hit number 1 single from 1996, Return of the Mack. It really does feel like Angie has worked with them all, having performed backing vocals for the likes of Kate Bush, Heaven 17, Neneh Cherry, Beverley Knight, the Stereophonics, the Happy Mondays, Midge Ure, Grace Jones, and the Rolling Stones, to name just a few. Angie's packed so much into her 30-year career, including being right in the thick of the action as house music was exploding in the UK in the late 80s and early 90s. So let's get straight into the interview, where I began by asking Angie, as a prolific entertainer in bars, pubs and clubs, how she coped with the lockdowns of the last 2 years brought on by COVID-19.
COVID was so demoralising for me. I mean, we've never had that in our lifetimes, have we? Like, every pub, every bar, every nightclub shut down. It's absolutely unreal. And even in the war, girls drew their stockings on and they went out nightclubbing and dancing to the big bands. So, to have everything absolutely shut down, it's it's amazing to me. And I think I was in shock for at least the first 6 months, absolutely in shock that a Saturday night's gone by and you haven't sung Da 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 Da. You haven't sung that song, because I've been singing it for over 30 years. Basically, the first 6 months was getting over the shock of the fact that you're not working, you're not singing in a nightclub somewhere in the world.
So did you always want to sing when you were little?
Yes, I'm one of those girls that was, okay, I'm giving away my age now, but, I'm 58. So when I was a kid, there was this TV show called Opportunity. So I went on, sorry, because my mum's got a Jamaican, I'm from a Jamaican background, so they put the H's in the wrong places, so I nearly said Opportunity Knocks, but it was called Opportunity Knocks, and it was on every Monday or something, and there was this little girl on there called Nina Zavaroni, and she was only 9. I think I was a year older than her, and she had this really strong, big black voice coming out of a tiny little Scottish girl, and I thought, she met the Pope, she worked with Tom Jones and Frank Sinatra, and I just thought, I want to do that. I want to do it. And my mum's always had a really good singing voice. So, from that moment on, really, I was in the school choirs and in the school productions and, going for every little amateur productions. And my mum was a foster carer, and she took me and a few of the children she was fostering to Butlins, and I went in for a talent competition there, and that's where my life completely changed, because I actually sang on our big stage. And, you know, when all the mums and dads and all the kids all clap and cheer, and it was just a real, you know, it was a starting point. It was a litmus paper for me. It really got me hungry for performing. So, yeah, it started around 10 years old. And by the time I was about 16, I think I played at Butlins, and because I won the competition, I went through another heat, you know. So the thirst for singing in front of a live audience just kind of really, you know, set itself in place. That's it. It was from the get-go. At that moment onwards, it was like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. And you had a singing teacher as well, didn't you? Who I think you still might be with today, even.
I do. Her name's Annette Batam. She's Anglo-French. She's a very sweet lady who, she heard my voice. I think I was 16 or 17. And she said, oh, I could do something with this voice. This is wonderful. And unlike today, I'm just getting over a little cough. But if you can imagine being really enthusiastic and someone saying to you, you could, if you use your voice properly, it will, not only will you be a good singer now, but as you get older, your voice will get better, because a voice can mature like fine wine. And if you look after it, it will serve you for as long as your career lasts, if you're not singing, you know, in the wrong way. So I was at the beginning, I just thought she's a crazy old lady. She wasn't old at all. I was 15 and she was about 35. She had to be in her mid-30s. So with her help, using, you know, her technique, which is sometimes a bit saucy, really, because you'd say you've got to sing from your fanny. I hope that your listeners don't mind hearing that kind of talk. But she was interesting, and she was arty and cultured and full of poetry and love, and she didn't have any children. So when she, you know, her children that came, you know, her clients that came to see her were her children, and she heard this massive sound coming out of me, which, well, yeah, I was about 16, and she said, I can really do something with you, but you've got to, you know, there's a lot of trust involved, because you do think she's crazy. How can you sing for me, Fanny? How can you engage those muscles, that the core of your stomach? But once I learnt to do it, what happened was I started sounding American, that American soulfulness that's required for house music. You know, it's a bigger, more rounded sound. And she also taught me about the vowels, because it's easy to go, yeah, when you're singing in English and baby. And she's like, no, it's baby. And it's yeah. And I used to think, so what difference does that really make? But then again, years later, when I'm Gonna Get You was really big, you know, I went to America. A lot of the Americans could not believe that I wasn't American. They kept saying, Angie, you know, we thought you were a home girl. We thought you were American and all of this. And I was like, nah, mate, I'm from Brixton. I'm from South London. So that's what Nettie gave to me. She gave me the ability to reach some big notes confidently, happily, without straining my voice. And so it's really important that you find a teacher that isn't trying to change your voice, the fundamental sound of your voice, but they enhance the voice, they enhance it and make it sound, the best sound that you could possibly make. Because she knew that I was a soul singer. She didn't think, oh, she's a rock or a pop or blues or West End. This girl is a soul singer, and with her help and guidance, and I still see her today, but back in the day we'd have a cup of tea, but now we have a couple of bodies and we hang out, and obviously I'm in my late 50s and she's in her mid 80s, and we are the best of friends. We really are. I adore her, and I sometimes I burst into tears and I say thank you for this gift. You've shown me how to succeed in the music industry.
She taught you how to sing in French as well, didn't she? Is that like?
How do you know that?
I've done my research.
Well done.
What's it like singing in another language? Is it obviously you're singing different words? Do you have to approach it in a sort of different way?
It's so interesting because I used to think, who's gonna want to learn? You know, who's gonna want to ever sing in French? Because I'm an English girl playing to English speaking audience. But what it is, again, the vowels help when you learn French, and same when you learn Italian, because being a Brit, like my voice now, because of this cough, I'm talking on the chords, which I shouldn't do. Basically, American English, a lot of Italian and French singers, they sing, it's a placement. So it's up and above the vocal cords. So basically, when I sang in French, it did just that. And so she taught me some Jacques Brel and some Edith Piaf. So when I would go, so I'll show you what I mean. Quand il me prend dans ses bras, you know, il me parle tout bas, je vois l'avion is all in the up and over this nasal passage here. And I thought, this is a great trick. I love it. And she's like, il m'a dit de mon amour, d'amour de tous les jours, et sans pas quelque chose. Yeah. But yeah. It's all good. It's all good stuff. It's just all a part of the training. A lot of opera singers, you know, they don't sing for the first years. They just go, oh, ah. You know, they make vowel sounds because it opens the back of the throat, but up here there's a placement up here, the back of the head, that you need to engage with to get that clarity that you want for a soul singer. Yeah, definitely.
That's fascinating. So in the 80s, Angie, you started singing at lots of open mic nights, and from there you started getting booked as a singer at clubs in your own rights. And you were in a band around the late 80s, early 90s that signed a record deal. I think you guys went by a few different names at the time.
Right.
What can you tell us about that?
Well, first of all, I'll just explain to your listeners that I've always liked guitars. I've always liked the sound of guitars. You know, I wouldn't say that I'm overly into rock music than any other member of the public, but I know for a musician or a person that listened to Radio 1 when I was growing up, or like all genres, I really liked guitars when they came on. I didn't just like the bass. I thought this is vibrant, this is lively. So I got into rock music because I thought this is going to pay it's not a purist market. This is going to pay the bills. I want to be, I wanted to be Skunk Anansie before Skunk Anansie, if you know what I mean? Because I could only think of Jimi Hendrix and maybe P.P. Arnold, a few people that were black, but doing something with guitars. And I thought, I want to do that. I don't want to sing reggae, because I started off singing in the reggae clubs and there was never any money in it, because the guy would always say, yes, Angie, well done tonight, but there's, we never make enough money on the door. And you're like, what do you mean? It was packed in here. I know I'm only 16, but I think you're ripping me off, kind of thing. And I thought, okay, you're only ever going to be in the clubs. You've got to change genres. So I started doing the rock thing. Worked with the Dirty Strangers, who hung out with Keith Richards and Ronnie Wood, and they were best friends with the band, and they used to hang out with us. We never said, you know, we're going to pay you. They literally hung out with the Dirty Strangers. You know, Keith Richards and Ronnie Wood hung out with the Dirty Strangers, and they were our mates, and we'd do gigs with them. This was prior to them going back on the road to do the Voodoo Lounge and all of that. And so from me putting that on my CV, all these doors open regarding the rock people, like journalists from Kerrang, and we played all the rock venues in London. And I realized that, you know, black voices, you know, female voices anyway, were on like Honky Tonk Woman, the Stones, and that you know, we'll sing it today. 20th century boy, I wanna be up top. You know, that kind of, I thought, yes, sir, I've got to make a living here. I can sing that really, like, bring on the Mark Bolan, bring on the David Bowie, bring it, because I want to have longevity in my career. And from doing that, I met the boys who the question was all about, who eventually became the Doves. But we were Hurricane Party. Then Ken and Brian, Ian and Kevin were originally the Thrashing Doves. And they got one of the biggest record deals in the world. And they wrote some really wicked tunes, brilliant songs. But they just did not have the success that they wanted. So I joined them as a backing singer, but slowly but surely ended up as the lead vocalist, because if they said we wanted a lead vocalist, I would have never gone for it. I would have never thought, well, why is this black woman, you know, with the 4 white musicians doing this rock thing? What are you doing? You know, it would felt right to do it the other way around. You guys are doing the rock thing, and I'll come in on the choruses and pump it all up. So, you know, early 90s, when the house thing was starting, I was still doing the Doves. And with them, I did some, I mean, the songs are brilliant, but we were a record company's marketing headache, because nobody had ever done that before. No one, you know about segregation in music, Matt, especially in America. And I think that people do get compartmentalized about, well, you look like that or you sound like that, so that's the music you should sing. Well, I just think music is music. Yeah. So I happily embraced the rock, and the rock people embraced me, and they were really sad. Let me tell you, I got emails from them when the house thing took off, and I got known for doing house music, but it's the same delivery, but different music. So, yeah. You know, for me, it was like, it was a new door that was opening, a new dawning with house music. I found a genre that was right for me.
Yeah, it sounds like with the rock thing, it was just a little bit before its time, maybe.
Yeah.
But as you say, you got into house, and obviously you got your big break with I'm Gonna Get You and with Bizarre Inc. So how did you get involved with those boys?
Okay, right. So I was still doing my little bit of rock music, and it was sort of mid-80s. I think I heard Jocelyn Brown's Somebody Else's Guy, and I thought, oh my God, this is great. Then Candy Statton's, you know, Sometimes I Feel Like Throwing My Hands Up in the Air. All this stuff was coming over from America and Chicago, and a new sound. And basically it's contemporary disco. It was faster than disco, and it was edgier than disco. And there was this bootleg, a famous 12-inch vinyl bootleg with lots of female singers on it. Martha Wash, Lolita Holloway, Jocelyn Brown, you know, it had all the what you heard from Black Box, it had on there. It had so many tracks on this one bootleg, and it obviously went round to DJs and people that were into production. And the boys from Bizarre Inc. were young, clever, musical, and they must have had their little Amstrad stereos, you know, Lord Sugar's Amstrad stereo, and they must have made a mixtape, and they must have made it out of the original of Jocelyn Brown singing "I'm Gonna Get You." So I used to sing. Now, to fast forward, in London, I was singing in these open mic nights in these clubs, and I'd be happily there singing, you know, R-E-S-P-E-C-T. I'd be doing all this foot stomping stuff. When everybody was doing a ballad, I was always doing something really in your face, because I remember I'm coming from a rock thing. I'm not gonna just stand there, you know, lately I've been staring. No, I don't care about these ballads and all of this stuff. This is rubbish. Let's just do let's get some energy. Let's get some rockets underneath these people's backsides in this venue tonight. So I'd be doing R-E-S-P-C-T, I've been doing all that. And then an agent, obviously in a new club with a new concept in the middle of London, everyone used to go there, all the record companies, all the talent scouts that work for the record companies would be in the place. And that night there was an agent there, and she said, she's really good. I wonder if she can sing like Bizarre Inc. Because Bizarre Inc., the three boys from Bizarre Inc., which was Andy, Carl, and Dean, they were scouting for someone who could sing, who could replicate the voice that they've got on this 12-inch bootleg thing. And, you know, you don't want to use the original artist, because the original artist is going to cost a lot of money. So if you get someone who can sound like that, then you're really, really doing really well. So I got a phone call. I turned up at the session, and I heard this. They gave me the headphones and said, "Can you sing like this?" And I was like, "Oh my goodness." You know, I've been to drama school, and along with what I've learned from Nettie, I could hear that Jocelyn's voice was in her feet. That's where the placement sounds like she's really sturdy, and the sound is not toppy at all. It's not up here. It's really here, reverberating here. So they played it again like a session singer that I told you that I did. I put the headphones on, and I put the headphones on, and I had that, wow, where's she? And I said to them, okay, I'm gonna do it, but you've got to get it in the. I remember thinking, how rude. You've got to get it in the next 10 minutes, because I can't keep that sound up. I can't. But I'm gonna copy it, you know, and I'm gonna do some method acting now, and I'm gonna get it. I'm from the South. Yeah, give me my fried chicken. Let me do this thing. And I put the headphones on. I just did it. I just did the "I'm Gonna Get You," and everybody was really happy, you know, because it, you know, replicated Jocelyn enough for them to be able to work with it. So that's how I got the job. I literally just went, "Why waste your time? You know you're gonna be mine. I'm gonna get you, baby. I'm gonna get you inside." And they went, "Yeah, she's great. She's got it. Brilliant. Take."
And those lines, as you said, come from a song by Jocelyn Brown called
"That's Right.
Love's Gonna Get You." Were you familiar with that song at the time, or were you listening to it for the first time when you were asked to kind of replicate it?
That was the first time I've heard it in my life, and I was terrified, because I thought, this sounds, you know, quite young. I thought, this is a massive sound. How could I sound like that? You know, again, being an American person, and they sing in church all their life. Their speaking is placed differently to where we talk as Brits, where like, "Hello, darling," it's on the throat, and they're like, "How it going?" And everything's really deep and round and big, and they're like, "Girl, you know, you my boo Angie," and all of this, and I'm like, hello, you know. Very Brit, and very, the placement for my voice was so different. But when I heard that, I thought I can do it. If I put my mind to it, I can copy that sound. And once I learned how to do it, basically, I never looked back.
That song's really influential as well, because not only does it contain those lyrics from I'm Gonna Get You, but Snap also sampled the line I've Got the Power for their song as well, I believe. And
right, because they were on the bootleg. Yes, well done, Matt. That's right. Because that same bootleg that I was telling you about, Matt, that was the bootleg that everyone nicked a bit of vocal from here and there. And Lolita Holloway and Martha Wash were really, their voice was on so many things in the early 90s, and they weren't recognized as artists, and they weren't ever paid. A lot of young DJ producers were using that same 12-inch with all the different vocals on there, which was normally power gospel vocals that have been lifted of various songs or even from demo tapes, and it was getting played with some beats, but at various house clubs, because remember the house night, that whole house movement was just coming in, both America and here. And then basically people liked it a lot, and they knew that they could make money out of this, so they took the vocal off and put some beats to it, and maybe even sped it up a little bit. But they rearranged it, and they cut it up, spliced it, diced it to make it suitable for what they wanted. So basically that bootleg, that same 12-inch vinyl that with all those different takes on it, that was used a lot, especially in the 92, 93. There was every track that was on there was made into a hit. Yeah. But at least Bizarre Inc. did the right thing. They didn't use Jocelyn, but they accredited me, and I everything was above board to a certain degree from that one bootleg. It basically formed a 1,000 house tunes, because it's never gone away. I mean, they're just great vocalists, and to sing in that style and that delivery and that power, it was everything that house wanted. That's the way it went. It was exciting and adventurous.
So once you'd sort of turned up at the session and recorded the vocals for I'm Gonna Get You and signed off and all the rest of it, did you think it would go on to be the kind of hit that it was?
Not at all, Matt. This the most blasé I've ever been in my life, because remember, I left drama school at 18, and so I've been kind of working the whole music thing. I tried to be an actress, and there's no work. There was no work for black actresses, really. It's not like now, there's loads of parts and more people of color on TV and adverts. Back then there was none. But on the musical side, I could get a job. I could sing in any bar, any club around the country. And that whole, when the house took off, it was just so exciting. And when I sang for Bizarre Inc., I'd heard that so many times. I'd done hundreds of sessions by then, and they were like, "Yeah, this is going to be a great big hit," and this is. And I'm like, yeah, just give me the money and let me go home. And I told a couple of people that I worked with this band called Bizarre Inc. And people were saying, I've heard of them, because obviously Playing with Knives had been out. But I don't think I was following the house, so I'd never heard of them. Anyway, when it came out, by the time it got recorded, I recorded it in the July. It was out in the September 1992, and the pre-sales, back then you had pre-sales like Woolies, so Woolworths, Virgin Records, Our Price Records, and loads of hundreds and thousands of independent record stores would go by the pre-sale. They would use that. People started to feel, a DJ started to feel what was going to go on in the club, might go to radio and might go on to being a massive hit, especially if it was tearing it up in the clubs. So I'm Gonna Get You was doing really well in the clubs. And we sold 44,000 copies before the actual general release. But I didn't know any of that. I just was like, you know, early September, not thinking, yeah, I got paid, that came on. Then suddenly somebody rang me and said, you're on the radio, you're number 17 in the charts. And I said, how can that be? That's I'm not. And it was like listening to that Sunday evening countdown show. And yeah, number 17 in the charts. We got Bizarre featuring Angie Brown. Oh my gosh. Because, you know, you can switch from one channel to another and you can catch it on a... And I was like, oh my God. And I heard the clicks and the da-da-da. Oh my Lord, I couldn't believe it. And my family and my friends and, you know, my parents were alive then. So that was so exciting. They were like, oh my Angie, she's done so well. She's in this singing. I know she's in the charts. And, you know, the man who fixes the shoes and the person that dry cleans your clothes and your cousins and your neighbors. Everyone was so happy for me because it was, you know, I've been trying for the best part of 10 years to make a name for myself. So it was an incredible moment. And if you said to me, oh, Mack, you could have bet me a $5 back then, which would probably be worth a lot of money right now, and said, oh, that's going to be a tune and it's going to be played on the radio, just like disco, it hasn't dated, still sounds great on radio, I would have said, nah. I would have said, no way, because I'd been let down so many times. So it was that same feeling when you pass your driving test, you know, and I passed first time. And, you know, like you feel like you're in a movie and you're about to have a good day. And I passed my driving test and I want complete strangers to hug me and spin me around. It was just like that. What? You were number 2 in the charts and you sang that song and that song is coming out of that man's car. It was an unreal moment for me.
Yeah. So there was no like communication from the record label about how it was getting on or anything like that. You were just completely in the dark until all of a sudden you just wake up one morning and it's all over the airwaves and
That's right.
And then maybe you get a phone call saying, I
was I'm the session singer. Why are they communicating with me? I'm not signed to the label. I got paid to lend my voice on my track, and they must have had a feeling that it was going to do well. They did contact me to do a video.
Yeah.
So I did feel, maybe it's hotting up here, but don't mean anything. I didn't follow the club scene. I didn't know that people were out dancing to it over, you know, maybe 6 weeks before it came out properly. And as I said, all the record shops ordered it in. It just blew up. And actually I went into Woolworths myself and saw it on the B, you know, I mean, oh my God, you know, the little 7-inch thing. Oh my God, it was just exciting times, you know.
Was there like a moment when it really hit you? How
Top
big
of the Pops.
I've
got to interject Top of the Pops. You know, my age, my lot, my generation who grew up with Top of the Pops, that was the big thing. And we also did Dance Energy with Nomsky. We were on another dance countdown video show that used to be on ITV. I mean, we were just everywhere. And, you know, Top of the Pops. Oh my gosh. And it was when Top of the Pops was live and they were like, you've got to sing this live. I was like, what? This is edited in the studio. But I did, you know, the best of my abilities. I gave it 100% anyway. And everyone was happy with it, even though it wasn't, you know, you can't sing it exactly like it's done in the studio.
Oh, no. No, but you wouldn't expect it to be. What was it like performing on Top of the Pops, that whole experience? Was it surreal?
Yeah, very, because Tasmin Archer was number 1 with Sleeping Satellite, so she was there. And Boyz II Men were there as well. I mean, this is before you that would never happen now. you would never go somewhere and not, ask for a photo or something. I mean, that person, the artist could say yes or no, but most people would say, yeah, you can take a selfie with us because it looks good for them on their Insta as well. But back then we didn't take any photos of it. And another time we did Top of the Pops, and Annie Lennox was on it with Y, and there was this game in the charts with this Rubik's Cubes thing, and there was all sorts of dancers and amazing people, at different stages, all set up, ready to go at 7:00, and they let the young people in, and everyone was dancing by the stage, and your heart was in your mouth, and they're communicating with the headphones, and it's a 3, 2, 1, and then it cut to Kid Jensen or whoever was introducing it, saying, right now we've got just fresh in the charts, blah blah blah, and it cut to us, and to listen out for that intro and come on it and get it right. You're not going to record it again. It has to be pre-recorded live, because they did it on a Wednesday night, and of course it went out on a Thursday night, which really confused my dad, because when I was watching it, he was like, he said, it's old Jamaican dad, isn't it? He was like, oh, yes, stutter as well, bless him. He was like, oh, how come you was in the room and you was on the television at the same time? And I was like, well, Dad, bless you. You're not gonna understand about this kind of technology. I said, Dad, it's a video, and it got pre-recorded yesterday, and it goes out, as it would be live today. And he was like, all right, very good. You work hard, and you're on television in England. It's like a big thing for people who came over in the 50s. It was a big thing for us.
Absolutely, yeah. Your success obviously coincided with the whole acid house rave scene, with all the madness and the drugs and the somewhat illegal aspects of some of those events. How much did you engage with all that at the time?
Well, for a start, and this is the truth, I didn't really like house music, because I still had the rock thing going around my head. I still had when you being with the Doves, and you sing a verse and a chorus and a verse. So to be repeating 2 lines in the same, or anything, any of that music back then, it was so repetitive for me. I thought, this is awful. How's this gonna get anywhere? How's this gonna do anything? And the same, whatever the track was, I thought, this ain't gonna survive. This music is not. It's too repetitive. So I wasn't following it. I just used to be with Bizarre, sitting in the van. Sometimes the police used to come, because I'm there to perform. I'm not a punter. I'm not out there off my head. Yeah. I've never taken ecstasy. I'm performing. I'm always there performing. But the police would be shining a light down, seeing if we've got some drugs under our tongues and stuff. And they still had those big phones, and they were like, that was exciting. It was like they were telling each other, right, this is where we're going to build a big truck. It's outside the M25. But we're going to do it on this farmer's land here. Because you can ask Rosalie, you can ask Alison Limerick. We're the performers. We're sitting there. We're trying to think, oh no, when we step out of this van, we're going to have mud on our shoes. We're going to look right messy. Where do we go to the toilet? And where do we put the makeup on, and the dressing room, and all these? There's people like the Rat Pack in high visibility jackets and cones on their heads. And, that whole scene was just mental. But, yeah, I just didn't like it. I wasn't really into it. I just thought it's too repetitive. It's not going to do anything, because it was still new. Do you know what I mean? That Felix tune, God knows, I can't remember where it goes now, but it'll come to me in a minute, but it's that whole thing, that repetitive thing of going round and round and round. How can this possibly be music? So I had to train myself to listen to house. I had to listen for the disco in it and the Barry White, on the 49ers track, and listen to that's like songs like Peace in the Valley and things like that. I could hear the Aretha Franklin in it. I could hear the soulfulness in it. But it took me a long time to hear it, because I thought, how could it be that repetitive and be a hit? It can't be. It's got to have a verse, a chorus, a middle eight where the guitars play, and then chorus is out. You can't just play the chorus all the way through. and that's what happened. I just basically was still hoping that the Doves would come out, but then we got dropped from the label. And obviously I was trying to set that up so that when I'm Gonna Get You was over, I've got something to springboard and piggyback onto, if you know what I mean. And I thought, this might open the doors for the rock thing. But people who like the house music so much were like, why are you doing that for? Your voice is so right for house. And I just, house became so much more successful for me that I just never looked back, really. I would obviously still sing rock as the gig, but the artist that I am, house is now a part of my DNA. It's in my bones.
And obviously it was massively taking off at that time. Did you kind of realise how much of a sort of iconic era you were living through and experiencing firsthand back then? Or is it only now looking back that you're able to appreciate how significant it was?
Exactly that. Your last line, I'm appreciating it now.
Yeah.
The fact that it's still on the radio, people still love it, embrace it, talk about it. I'm on the Facebook groups. We raved in the 90s, and that whole stay up all night, go straight to work afterwards, because I still had a day job catering. I worked in this rehearsal rooms with bands like Blur and Courtney Pine and his band, people going out on tour. And I just decided to stop when I'm Gonna Get You got really popular, and we were gigging most nights, and I'd get back to work to wherever I was in England. I'd get back to work in this cafe. I wasn't working there every day. I did 3 days a week, and I'd open up for all the the lorry drivers who want a big cooked breakfast and everything, and try and balance the two out, because this housing was taking off. But where is it going to take you? I didn't know. Like songs like Don't You Want My Loving? That's it. Don't you want my loving? Yeah. Don't you want whatever it is? Don't you want my loving? But how can it be so repetitive? And then I saw Des Mitchell, the DJ, one time. He marked it so that he scratched the whole beginning, and the strobes were going off. And I was at this Butlins thing with him, and he goes, watch this, Ange. He was going, don't you want my, don't you want my, don't you want my, don't you want my? And the lights were going on, and the people were salivating. So he did it about 30 times before he let it go into the da 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 da, da. And the play. I'd never seen that in my life. I thought, how is he doing that? Obviously, he knew exactly where to pull the track back to, but it's the way that he tantalized, and he made that audience salivate for that chorus to come in. And I'd never seen that, because I thought, these people can't be dancing to that repetitive, don't you want my, don't you want my, don't you want my, do you want my, do you want my, do you want my, do you want my love? Yeah. Oh my goodness. I thought, this thing is popular, this thing is big. And these house people are in the charts the whole time. And then somebody summed it up for me when they said, well, do you know what, Angie? House is the new pop. And I learned so much. I thought, actually, whatever's popular it's a new pop. It's popular music, and any music can be popular. It doesn't, you can't say where music's going. It's so individual. If someone said to me, "Oh, rap was going to get," I would have even laughed even harder than house. And someone's gonna, excuse me, someone's gonna talk over a track, and they're gonna be big stars in the world for having the ability to put their poetry on a track with some beats. I would have laughed hard, But when I check it, and you think, me as a child listening to Blue Beat and Ska, and they had those guys toasting over the track, as I would say, all the people in the house tonight, and and you saw it in the specials, and you saw it with the whole 80s thing, and it's always been there. It's always been there. Maybe not as fast as rap, but derived from, that's where rap's derived from. So it just taught me that, who are you? Just because you might have liked Lionel Richie with the big guitar in the middle, and that, it doesn't mean that things are not going to change and get edgier and get street, because that energy comes from the people. It's not the board members in the record company. It is not. And that's why people started their own labels, because we're not saying that Queen and David Bowie and Elton John were not brilliant. They were, but there's this new rogue lot who can't read music. They decide they're gonna sticky tape the whole thing together, but it still sounded good, and the big labels weren't signing it. So that's hence the word house and garage. People started pressing their own records and putting it out, and it was getting on radio, pirate radio, as you know. So, the people had spoken. We want this as well as David Bowie. We want this as well. We like it.
And house music was obviously taking off. I'm Gonna Get You was blowing up. Your career was very much in the ascendancy. But as you say, you kind of, you're performing in fields, you've still got your job, did it live up to your expectations of what you thought being a successful recording artist would be like?
Well, yes and no, because I wasn't. It's really interesting, actually, because I've been singing I'm Gonna Get You for 30 years, but I wasn't the artist. Bizarre Inc. were the artists.
Yeah.
So for me to be able to, I wanted to go out and sing it every Saturday, because we get good money to go and do a public address or a personal appearance. That's what a PA is, just for people who don't know. And we're doing this personal appearance, and back then there was loads of clubs around the country, over the bowling alleys. You had Top Rank, you had this one, you had massive clubs holding 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people. And so there was, at the weekend, I might have 4 or 5 gigs. I'd definitely have 2 or 3 on a Saturday, 1 on a Sunday, and maybe 1 on a Friday. I mean, I was just busy. And I noticed that the boys didn't want to go out and do it. They had a different regard. I mean, they had to be 6-10 years younger than me, and so the success happened for them when they were more or less out of school or college. But for me, I'd already done 10 years on the road, so when it did come along, I embraced it. And I thought, okay, you guys, I know that I'm not in the band, I know that I'm not really on the payroll with the record company, but if agents get in touch with me and they want me to sing it around a nightclub, without you guys, I'm going to do it. And I don't think they were happy about it in the beginning, but I didn't care. I used my Top of the Pops backing track with the white noise and all. I just started playing all the big Top Ranks and Busbys and Icon and Diva. There was all these Cinderella Rockefellers. There was all these big, glamorous nightclubs, because we didn't have the bars like we do now. The bars, like in the high street, you've got a nice wine bar and you've got a good DJ in there, but there's no entrance fee. So in the 90s, the big nightclubs was a massive thing, and I was in demand. And I also think that if you make your bed nice and soft, you lay down soft. I've never been demanding. I love it. I love the fact that I've been able to make a good living, and I might not get the royalties that Bizarre Inc. get, but I've definitely, had a great living and a nice lifestyle, and stayed in the best hotels in various places all over the world from singing that song. So I thought to myself, if there's a demand, then I'm going to supply for the demand, and that is still happening.
Yeah. So obviously a large part of your career has been as a prominent featuring artist. So what's your experience been in terms of like creativity when you're in that kind of role? Do you feel like you're able to experiment and try different things and make suggestions? Or is it more of a case of just doing what you've been told to do and not feeling like you're able to deviate from that?
Whenever I do house music, there's always ad-libbing. Even da-da-da-da-da-da-da, that was an ad-lib. I don't think that, I sang it like that, but they pieced it together like that. And whenever you do house music, there's always a track of ad-libs. They're always like, you can go in now and do your thing, unless I was, singing on Mark Morrison's Return of the Mack, where the chorus were very tight, and that's what they wanted. And I wasn't being featured on there. I was just singing along with him and ghosting his voice to make it sound a bit warmer. So the discipline of being a session singer was to hold back on that. They didn't want my voice to shine through too much on that. But when you're generally doing house, they want all the big mama stuff, don't they? Oh, yeah. Oh! They want all that. They want all that. No. Baby. But that whole anyway, what am I trying to say? But the whole thing was very exciting and very cool. And the more I got to grips with house, the more they asked me to go in there and do my thing. And obviously I got asked to collaborate, and I got asked to write. And on the Mark Morrison Middle Eight, they just said, Angie, go in there and do something. And I thought, I don't want to really sing. It's this lovely kid from Leicester. This sounds like a nice tune, and I'm honoured to be singing on it, But I'm only singing on it because I'm thinking about, I'm getting paid for doing this session. Again, I didn't think this Return of the Mack was going to sell, do what it's done globally, and the streams, the 200 million streams it's had. But I went in the studio and I just made that up. I went, oh, Mark, you lied about your big... I wanted to say your big willy, but, and that's the truth. But I went, you lied about your big break. Yeah. Come on and be a real man. Stop putting me down. Stop putting me down like this. And they went, great, we love it. You fill in the forms, the equity forms, and you go home. I never think about I just get in the zone when I'm in the studio, and I hope to deliver a performance that my producer is happy with, because you can't really let your hair down until they say, yep, happy with that take, thank you. You can't relax until that's done, So yeah, I'm always being asked to do my own thing in studios, and a lot of producers don't tell me what to do now. They just play the track. Even recently, I did a whole album for this new Dutch band called Amsterdam Music Exchange, and it's all Purple Rain. It's all big singing and me tracked up like a choir. So, I felt this feels like I think her name was Robin Clark, or one of the girls on Dark Side of the Moon. This is my time to like be on a rock album and just be wailing away, and hopefully people get in that zone and think, that's a quality recording, and it hits the spot, and makes your hairs go up at the back of your neck.
you obviously mentioned Return of the Mack there and Mark Morrison.
Yeah.
You know, for all that I'm Gonna Get You as an absolute monster hit, obviously Return of the Mack's probably even bigger, isn't it? Just unbelievably massive. But
ridiculously so. I mean, it's been covered by, you know, Snoop Dogg and Fetty Wap and various, you know, Bad Boys. Yeah, we're down with it. We're cool. So and so's, you know, they've all covered it, and it keeps coming back, you know, and it gets remixed and respun and reproduced, and it's on nearly everyone's desert island disc. And you know, as I say, it's not my song. I didn't even though to me I came up with that lovely bit, but I'm not listed as a writer, and I'm not mad about that. I'm more, you know, glass is more full than empty. I'm more happy to be an artist in my own right that got a chance to sing on such an iconic song.
Is it at all frustrating though? Because there'll be listeners to this who won't realise that that's you singing on Return of the Mack. Is there any part of you that feels frustrated about that kind of anonymity?
Well, when back then, I thought, oh, you know, I've always been a tubby girl, you know, I've always been chubby, I've always been more or less, you know, like this weight. And I was like, oh, I wish I looked like that, like the model in the video. But I know that models are models and singers are singers. And I know that sex sells. I had to, you know, you have to get over that. You have to get thick-skinned, and you have to just think, right, it's business. And that's how the board members and the shareholders for the major record companies think. That's how they think. But in truth, really speaking from the heart, I think that they've created this thing where music is based on how you look, and some of the most fantastic, prolific jazz and blues singers were not good looking, because that's probably why they were on the radio. I don't know, but I shouldn't say that. But it's about the artistry, and you can't just, you know, you can put two models and get them to mime like Milli Vanilli, or you might be majorly famous, but you're not really a strong artist. And I think that now, 30 years on, we don't have a George Michael, we don't have Elton, we don't have a new, I mean, Ed Sheeran for me is the closest to, you know, if I was Glastonbury or Live Aid, he so rightly should be on there, and the Killers and a few other artists, but it's a handful compared to what used to be. And I think the major labels as well are just living on their back catalogue, whether it be ADCD or this one or Prince or Madonna, Michael Jackson, whatever. They're living on their back catalogue because they're not really producing new artists that are just good, all-round artists. They're absolutely talented. They can play, they can sing, they can write.
So if I can take you back just to your work with Bizarre Inc. again, you collaborate with the boys again in Took My Love in '93.
Yeah.
Which was another Jocelyn Brown sample, I believe.
That was 12-inch bootleg, yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like you have a good relationship with the guys back then. Are you thinking at this stage, you know, it would be cool to make this collaboration more permanent? How are you sort of looking at the way forward back then?
Like reunite and get back on the road? I don't think so, to be honest. It's not so much the boys. Definitely the label back then wanted it to be about the boys. And occasionally I would do the breakfast television or something, and they would end up not talking to the boys. They would talk to me because I've always got lots to say. I don't answer in that monosyllabic way, or, you know, I used to work in a mental institution, or I used to do this, or, yeah, no, I'm going to be animated. And I'd done so much more, before I met them. So I've always had a lot to say. And it kind of took even though I was a featured artist and the label would definitely, I don't think I'm that much in the video. I think I'm behind a shiny curtain. And then for Took My Love, they asked me to be in the video and they only used my lips. And that was hard to deal with because there's a Caucasian model absolutely miming to my voice. And that is really, it did undermine me. It made me feel like, you aren't the artist and you don't call the shots, but you know what, Angie, you've signed the paperwork, so they've got the legal rights to use your voice. And what will be, will be. If you are going to be recognized later on in time, then you will be. And I really think in my heart, you can't keep a good woman or a good person or a good man down. I think that people will always, I'm that kind of person. You can put me right at the back, but they'll always want to say, well, who's that girl? Who's she? Because I think it's my sound and it's what I exude on stage. I'm like one of those little Tasmanian devils. I don't know if you've seen that cartoon when he goes, and he's like spinning and he's nuts. And when I get out on that stage, I am nuts because I feel like if that was Hendrix or that was, some big rock star, I don't know, Freddie Mercury, he's gonna lap it up because you know how hard you've worked to get to that point and you love it and you feel like you were born to do that. So it doesn't matter how much people or producers or Bizarre Inc. or the labels try to put me in the background. I always make my way to the forefront somehow. I don't know if it's just blessings from the gods, the almighties, my angels, my guides, I don't know. Or it just maybe I'm just one of those people who's not a pain in the neck, as I said to you earlier in the business. I've got a lot of friends and I've got a lot of fans who think, Angie, we love your voice. We've supported you for the last 30 years. And just maybe I'm one of those people who just don't go away. Like a Rasputin, they tried to bludgeon him so many times. And he kept coming back. And that's me. I think I'm very much like that. I think if you're professional and you're kind and you're not a pain in the neck, you're not a pain in the bum, people will always want to work with you. And I've retained my talent, hopefully. I know that I don't sound the best today because I'm getting over a cough, but people can see the sincerity. My fans or people who follow me, they can see it. You can see that, the eyes are the windows of the soul. They can see it. This girl loves it too much. And I hope you don't mind me mentioning that I was in Heaven 17 for 9 years. Yeah. And playing with them, doing all the stadiums around the whole country on these 80s tours, and it would have Toya Wilcox, and it would have Culture Club would be on the gig, Andy Bell. What was Andy Bell and what's his name? Erasure.
Yeah.
People sold out, and we would either be with them on this tour with all the different Belinda Carlisle, all these artists, or one time we went out just to support Erasure. And Martin Ware and Glenn Gregory would say to me and Billy, who was the other backing vocalist, get them going from the off. Don't just, like in a stadium, the guys in the visibility, high vis, was trying to get the people to sit down. But our job was to get them out, especially on Temptation. So I got used to it. I know how to get a crowd riled up because they know that their favorite tune is coming and they salivate for that whole thing. And a mixture of house, you're teasing them and playing with them for that whole, that whole, I've never been born. But before Glenn does that, he gives me and Billy like 3 minutes of getting the audience we're singing bits of Madonna, we're singing bits of high energy songs. People love it. We're singing bits of, I don't know, Sister Sledge songs, and we're whipping it and cutting it and editing it, so it's like, you know, that whole, you know, da 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 da, you know, that whole that build up that house does. I knew how to do that, and by the time Glenn came on to do that Temptation, da da da, I've never, the whole Wembley stand, everyone stands on their feet and they're in complete disbelief, because we've actually got to the point where it's, I'm sorry to be blunt, but it's like orgasming. It's like really good tantric sex for ages and ages and ages and ages, and you feel like you're going off your head. And we let the doggy, you know, your little dog, your little puppy, and you let him off the lead and die. Well, it's like that. And house is just like that. It's a build up. It's that expectation. Excuse me. And I brought that to the foreground with Heaven 17, because I first met them at in the Royal Albert Hall, because they got voted the best new house record, because they had the Rhythm Brothers in Rhythm remix of Temptation, and they nipped us to getting that award. And I met them there, and I thought, oh, they're brilliant. I'd love to work with them in the future. And I did. And the only reason why I left them was because I was just earning more money doing Angie Brown and doing Butlins and big events in my own, and festivals in my own name, rather than being a backing vocalist for them. But it was one of the best jobs I've ever done. I really loved those boys.
Yeah, no, it sounds like loads of fun. And you guys, when you were part of Heaven 17, you toured on Here and Now. Yeah. I mean, that seemed like a hell of a tour. There's loads of big names on that, weren't there? Paul Young, Kim Wilde, ABC, 5 Star. I've got them all written down here. To Pow. Do you have any sort of like stories from being on the road with all of those guys?
Oh, mate, I've just had so much fun with them. I mean, I remember like Carol Decker's little girl. She was really, really, really good fun. Really close to Tony Denton, and Tony Denton was the promoter of the whole concept.
Right.
And he was quite a small guy. I remember when she sent her daughter in to go and say hello to him, and the daughter, I can't remember Carol's daughter's name, but she went up to Tony and she went, "You're tiny." And he said, "No, my name is Tony." And she said, "No, you're tiny," because he's only like a 5 foot guy. And when she told us that, we were crying. We're like, "You didn't say that. Go up to him and say that he's tiny." So we started calling him Tiny Tony Denton. I remember that. Tiny Tony Denton. But anyway, and I remember the 5 Star's dad really ripping into me one day, because I used to like changing all the names on the, I see it like run around and change all the names on the doors, on the dressing room doors, and I changed 5 Star's name to Uranus. And the dad came in, "Who do that?" And he went round to all the artists, and suddenly all the artists were like, "I think you better go and talk to Angie Brown," because he wasn't letting it go. And he said, "Never do that again. How dare you?" And I said, I'm really sorry, Mr. 5 Star, because, Mr. Pearson, because I was just being silly. He said, "Don't you trouble that door ever again. You don't have any right." I said, "I was just trying to be silly. I'm sorry." So, yeah, good times. And there was one time when Paul Young, I must look it up on YouTube, actually. Paul Young, Michael Aspel came to surprise Paul Young for his This Is Your Life.
This Is Your Life, right.
And Heaven 17 never told me, because they know that I can't keep a secret. So everybody on that stage at Wembley Kim Wilde, this one, that one. We're all singing, you know, every time you go away. Every time everyone's singing it. Michael Aspel walks on and I'm sort of singing it. And I see this big fuzzy wuzzy boom mic thing. And it was, you know, to get the recording, you know, his reaction on, you know, the sound of his reaction. And there was cameras were obviously set up out the front. And I saw Michael Aspel stand there with a big red book and everybody else was cool. But me, I'm like, you'd think it was happening to me because I was like, I couldn't believe it, the horror on my face. And I was like, knocking people going, look, and Michael, and they were like still smiling and singing like, yeah, we know, Angie, you're the only one. I was like that. And I couldn't believe it. This is Michael Aspel. And he's come to do This Is Your Life. Anyway, so Paul Young gets whisked off to do This Is Your Life. And the next day he came in and goes, Angie, you didn't know, did you? I said, no, no one told me. No one told me. No, I wasn't going to stand there all blasé. I must look that up online. It must be, oh my gosh.
It must be out there, Paul Young's This Is Your Life somewhere, I'm sure.
Babe, I'm running around the whole of Wembley going, look, to the other artists, and they're not buying it because they know. They know this whole thing is happening, except for me and Paul Young.
And looking to the future, you've got a bunch of gigs coming up next year with other big female 90s artists. You're going out on the road with Robin S, aren't you?
That's right. That you're talking about the house
classics.
Yeah. So we're all singing, I don't know, we'll sing our hit, but then we'll sing something else like Missing, and we'll sing You're Not Alone, We're Not Alone, You're Free to Do What You Want to Do. Whatever the words are and the songs are, we're singing them, and we're going to do lots of bangers. So it's me, Robin S, Kim Mazel, she's had loads, as we know, and Beverley Skeet. Now, I think Bev's the one that the general public would think. I've never heard of her, but she had a hit with Gat the Core, Passion, back in the day. But she didn't push herself as a house singer because she went back into doing her session work, and she toured with Annie Lennox and Tina Turner and lots and lots. She was in Bill Wyman's Traveling Wilburys or something like that. So she was always working. And anyway, we found Bev, and basically we just said, right, if we get a nice concept together, let's find an agency, let's find a company that will want to get behind us. You know, we'll do some good ticket sales, we'll get the bums on seats. And they said, well, to really do it, we need the orchestra. We need an orchestra. And I thought, how exciting, because I'll be hearing, I'm going to get you, you know, not with just a synthesizer, but with the real instrumentation, cellos and violas, and people play. Oh my God. And I thought, this is what I've worked for my whole life. I've got to this point where we're going to play Hammersmith, Apollo. We're going to do the best, maybe 2,000-3,000 seaters around the country, from Glasgow right down to the Pavilion in Bournemouth, Birmingham Symphony Hall, all over. This is my chance to just be there in my own right, even though I'm probably, someone will probably do Where Love Lives, or You're Free to Do What You Want to Do, or Rosala's, you know, Everybody's Free, whatever. We're gonna take turns at singing classics on really nice stages, brilliant backdrop. Andy Galea, the DJ, who's keeping it, you know, edgy and funky and grooving, and then us divas are just I don't know, Matt. It's just going to be such a big moment for me, because this is something that I've worked towards, but it's not the rock side of things. It's the house side of things, what I'm known for. So yeah, after Christmas, babe, I'm going to be running around the park trying to lose a few pounds and wishing that I didn't have those mince pies because, we'll be doing TV, radio. And I think that it will be a really successful tour because
I think so.
Going to see that prom kind of thing. And people 30 years ago who didn't have the money, they're in retirement now, or they've hopefully the hedge funds and the investments have grown and mortgages are paid for. And they want to see what they heard when they were in their teens and stuff. They want to hear those artists in their I don't know, in their rightful place. Because remember, when you're with the house artists, sometimes you don't know what we look like because we weren't pushed like pop stars, Duran Duran and this one and that one from the 80s, OMD, oh, this one, ABC, Heaven 17. We weren't posters. It's very about the DJ. So it's so nice. You know, I did The Voice like about 8 years ago and loads of people contacted me and said, it was you that sang that song. Amazing. I don't think about it because if you're a clubber on the LGBTQ scene, or if you club, lots of people who club know what I look like. They're like, oh, look, there's Angie Brown at festivals and things. But the general public who, you know, mum's gone to Iceland and blah, 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 and they don't know what I look like. They have no clue. No. So it was really exciting to go up there and sing that for them, you know. So really, that was challenging. That was, even though they didn't turn around for me, it was a great thing to do, really. 9 million people watched. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, no, at the end of the day with The Voice, you know, I don't think anyone who's won that show has gone on to do anything particularly that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
But you went on there to gain exposure, and that's exactly what you got, because you got people to see you singing the song that you're famous for once, and the spotlight was actually on you, and like you say, people realised who this woman was who sang this massive tune, and like you say, 9 million people. So you got out of it, I think, what you wanted, and so, you know, it's all good, I think.
I think so. You know, and people kept stopping me. Sorry to laugh, but I went to this restaurant one day and this guy came over and he went, "You were brilliant last Saturday. Why didn't they turn around? Let's give her a round of applause." And everyone in the restaurant stood up, and I was like, my goodness, oh my gosh. And then when it actually went to air, the BBC were like, you know, did you like it? And I thought, well, will.i.am is just talking rubbish, isn't he? Because he was like saying things like, I told Fergie to sing like you on Boom Boom Pow. I'm like, if you told Fergie to sing like me, why didn't you turn around? But, you know, I realised it's a TV show and they know who's going to win. They don't want a professional to be going in there, but they do want a professional to help with the ratings.
Yeah.
And everyone knew I was going to be on it because there was a little trailer saying, and they were talking about it on radio. She going, oh, Angie's going to be on Angie Brown. So it was a chance to sing it live again with a 4-piece band, raw as you like. You know, I felt like I was a member of the Beatles at that moment, and that 1, 2, 3, and just straight in, and the crowd got up, and you know, my boys cried all the way home from Salford back to London, like, "Mummy, why did they do it? You're a good singer." And I had to keep explaining to them it's a TV show and not to take it to heart, you know, because it's a tough industry. You just get a thick skin and you carry on, and that's what I did. But it's a great message.
The audience in the studio loved it, didn't they? So,
well, it's the only standing ovation. Apparently, the BBC said the only standing ovation that's ever happened from the first beat onwards. You know, and that's why I was told once the audience will get up, they turn around, and I thought everyone in here is on their feet, everyone. Yeah. And I just thought, just concentrate on doing a really good delivery and the best you can, look good, feel good, and enjoy the performance, because they do they do psych you out a bit by saying, if it all goes wrong, we won't reshoot. Like, it's a bit like car crash television. And so you think to yourself, oh my God, I hope I don't slip. I hope I don't hit the wrong note. Just, oh my gosh, I hope I don't come in at the wrong place. I've only had 2 rehearsals with the band, and this is a live. This is pre-recorded live, and and I remember I'm used to singing it with a backing track, but I thought, bring it on. All the stuff that I learned in the 80s, how to just come with it live, and how to just kind of steamroller through the whole thing. It just came to came to the forefront. I know how to do this. All these years of doing all the stadiums around the country, the here and now, all came to the forefront. And I was like, bring it. You guys think you're going to wreck me now. I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to have fun. And that's what I did.
No, you smashed it, Angie. Now, it'll be the 30th anniversary of I'm Going to Get You next year, I think. Will you be doing anything to mark that at all?
Yes, funnily enough, for you to say that. There is going to be a 2021 version. I think it's going to be this year, or it might be next year now, but it's a new remake of I'm Going to Get You.
Wow.
I got a record deal and it suits me fine. It's not the biggest deal in the world. I don't want 7, 8 albums and all the advance that comes with it and all the madness that comes with that. I'm signed to a Dutch label for the next 2 years, and they're called Armada. And it's a good dance label. And I think they've got DJs that don't have hits in England that I can collaborate with, and vice versa. And they definitely want me to re-sing I'm Gonna Get You and Playing with Knights, just to, make your mark with the label, and show them that you can sell as an artist, and regurgitate all the fans, all the hysteria of house music, and all the all the trimmings that come with it. I think people will get that little visit down memory lane. Yeah. And so I thought, well, why not redo it, especially Playing with Knives, because that came out the year before I met the boys.
Well, it's not actually. A lot of people think you sang Playing with Knives, but you didn't, right. Did you? So will this be the first time you actually? I know you've performed it plenty of times before, but will this be actually the first time you've recorded? Really.
Well, I've got my own backing track of it, so I do sing it. I have re-recorded it like that, but this would be for release,
right? Yeah.
And also, when I first heard it in the 90s, it was too high for me, so I had to kind of mime along to it or sing it an octave down. It was too high. So all this time going back to Nettie's doing all the, and all of that operatic stuff just came into play. I call it Julie Andrews singing. So all that really clean, open the back of your throat, breathing deep, eyebrows up, all came into play. And I thought, I can hit that note now. And I'm not even singing it in just soprano. I can sing it in chest voice, like I could sing it in full voice, but there's no point doing it like that. That you want it to have that kind of lovely, sparse clarity. So I do it in my, my best opera singer voice. And it would be great to sing it and have a hit with it in my own right, as Angie Brown.
Yeah.
And regurgitate those hits, because people are always going to associate me with those songs. I mean, I did used to say to people at the gigs, oh, this came out a year before. They were like, get on with it. They were like, they didn't care as long as your Bizarre, your ex-Bizarre, your voice of Bizarre, whatever, you're Angie Brown, you're on that track. They just immediately there was no point in explaining to people and say, oh yes, this was a hit for Bizarre a year before I joined. They weren't interested.
Yeah.
They were like, are you doing Knives or what? And the northern promoters weren't feeling me. They were like, are you doing Knives, Angie? Yeah. I was like, hey, all right. And woo, and doing all that, and all that high. Woo-hoo, yeah. I could not do that back in the day. I mean, if we ever find any old footage where I've got to play with knives, you can tell that I was miming it. You can tell. So yeah, it shows you that my voice did progress really over the last 30 years.
And you'll be doing some new music as well as the old classics as well.
Definitely. That's why I want to work with some DJs that are DJ producers, I would say, that are massive in Europe, but they just haven't had that into England. And well, I want to reach out to them really, and I want to collaborate with whoever, you know. I hope I get a chance to work with some of the new people out there that I like Disclosure, Rudimental, Ed Sheeran, you know, these type of people that really that I like, you know, new artists. Who wouldn't work with David Guetta? Who wouldn't work with some of the really good house artists out there? Why not? You know, I for me, house is a genre that I know now. I know it backwards. So they want that bellowing, they want that big round voice, they want that wholehearted, you know, when you sing it just shakes their bones. So I know how to do that all day long. And I learned how to DJ in COVID, so no stopping me now.
Yeah, so how's that going?
One Saturday afternoon, just to cheer myself up. I can't imagine why, but I went out and I bought these decks, and I said, right, so I'm going to learn how to DJ now. And I went online. The DJ friends or people who follow me as an artist was teaching me how to set it all up. They said, you've got to put that XRL cable into that, and that into that. And I just started, you know, shaking. I thought, I'm going to go live. And I did. And 3,000, 4,000, 6,000 people would watch it. And I would say, that's out. And they were like, no, bubbles, hands going up, little emojis, big emojis, enjoying it, you know, because we were all
is this like doing a set from home, live streaming it? Is that right?
In the garage. Yeah, in the garage. I mean, when COVID came, it was only 5 or 6 months after my mum passed away. You know, all the gigs started drying up towards the end of the year. And you still got to go through that grieving process. But I love my job so much. I was looking forward to going to work. But when there was no work, I was like a little bit, I was just really, I found it demoralizing. That there was no work. And thinking, oh my God, how are you going to look after your boys and pay bills? And you've got no mum to lean on now. So you better get it right. You've got to do this. And I thought I would extend my career, give myself some longevity if I knew what these buttons did. Because every time you go to a festival or a big nightclub, the buttons can kind of freak you out. And I went to a DJ school and learned how to do it. And all too often, sometimes I'm the only vocalist on with loads of DJs. I'm like, no. I need to DJ and do a bit of singing and get that same riser. You know, youngsters don't want, oh, hello, I'm a singer and I'm going to sing for you. No, they want the beats. Yeah, we're playing the beats. We're playing strings. And then you got to sing over that now. Come on. Let's get the place going. How you know how to do it, Angie. You know how to do it, Angie Brown. Come on. So I bought the decks. I started practicing. I went to the DJ school and I thought, right, I'm ready to go live now. And one Saturday afternoon, I went live on Facebook. And so many people loved it. And then they said, will you do it again next week? And it became like a little 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock Saturday afternoon. It became a set with me. I mean, every DJ did it to cheer people up, keep people from going absolutely bananas. And just the reaction by, you see, what I learned was it's not what you play, it's how you play it and what you bring to it. And every time I was like, I got 2 tracks in. I got 2 tracks. It was a big thing. Oh, and I mixed that with that. And it was exciting for me. Yeah. You could see it on my face. And then I got asked to do DJ sets. And then I even got paid like 100 quid here and there. Oh, could you just do an online set? You know, it's Darren's 40th, Yeah, we'll and they think, oh, this is so nice.
Yeah.
And I really like DJing.
And you're DJing on the radio as well, is that right?
Yeah, I work on LWR, and they're a London community radio station.
Yeah.
I'm on Hot Radio in Bournemouth every Friday night, between 10 and 11 p.m. And yeah, that is really, really amazing, because I can hear over the years that so it's been about 3 years now in DJing, and I can hear the mixes, and it's better. I'm listening differently, bring in that vocal, bring that bass down a bit, turn that up a bit, and where you do the drop is really important. So I'm looking to go out and do some brunches. That's a big thing, where there's people who want to go out to the nice hotel with a probably view of London, wherever, and there's some good DJ playing, and a DJ singer like myself singing over it, getting, basically it's an upmarket stag and hen night, isn't it? And people want that, because houses everywhere now anyway. It's never gone away, as we discussed in the first part of this podcast. House has never ever gone away, and people love it and they want to hear it. And there's so much positivity with house. I'm sorry, but there's jungle rave, this one, tech, house tech, this one. What's it called? Jungle, not jungle, is drum and bass. There's always trouble at the house people with like the hippy dippy lot who just want to just dance, and that's what we do.
And where can people find you on like social media?
You can find me on Insta. You can also find me on Facebook. Obviously, the personal one with people that you worked with back in the day, or new fans. That's all full, that page. But I should do another personal page. But I'm only going on about getting up, doing the school run. Oh yeah, I've made the beds today, done the laundry. I'm very down to earth on that one. But there's a professional musicians page.
Yeah.
And I do half on Insta. I do, there's some of me dancing with the cat. The cat's called Brixton Market. That's where we found him. And so there's some of me like grooving with him, because, animals and children apparently are good for the for the followers on Insta. Sometimes it's me and my boys. I've got 2 boys, Cuba and Charlie. Sometimes we're dancing on there, or talking, or just laughing, or whatever. But most of it is quite professional, and it advertises where I'm going to be, what I'm doing, and of course hashtagging all the other singers that I know who might be on that 90s gig: Baby D, Alison Limerick, Live in Joy, Urban Cookie Collective, all these people. So that 90s coming to its own, really. People, because it hasn't gone away, as we said before. And what I've noticed on the Let's Rock tour, I got on the end of a tour with, it should have been Sydney Youngblood, and that's been amazing to do that, because eventually the 80s people are going to retire, or they're going to pass away, or whatever, and if they want the brand to continue, they are going to have to put some 90s people in there, along with our own festivals. We're doing all right, really. Like you said at the beginning of the podcast, you didn't think it was going to last. No, I didn't. I had no idea. It's going to support me and embrace me as an artist for so long.
Yeah. Well, it's been 30 years, and here's to another 30.
Thank you so much, Matt.